It's finally Friday, November 17th, 2023. Today's podcast being brought to you by Hot Springs County Travel and Tourism, reminding you that even as temperatures drop and snow is on the horizon in Thermopolis, you can always find yourself in hot water. As we look at the weather coming up here as we wrap up the week, another beautiful sunrise photo, this time out of North Park, Colorado. Thanks, Matt, for sending that on in. We do have a little bit of a break in the weather, so if you're traveling today or tomorrow, we're really not looking at a lot going on, but the West Coast low is going to bring in a little bit of weather to parts of the region this weekend. But overall, for most of the region for today and into Saturday, although that California storm will spread some showers into the Great Basin and western areas, this disorganized storm system that comes through Sunday and Monday, it's going to bring just kind of a haphazard pattern of clouds, colder temperatures, and little patchworks of rain and snow, not really getting itself organized very well. But certainly by Sunday night into Monday, it is going to bring colder temperatures our way. And there's going to be another period of snow, especially in the mountains of Colorado, Utah, parts of the Intermountain West, and a little bit of shower activity on the plains. But it's not a major weather maker. But there will be some travel concerns Sunday late into early Monday in some areas, especially the higher elevation roads and highways. Then there's a little bit of a break. So it looks like for most of Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday, for holiday travel, I don't see too many problems in the region. Where things get a little bit more dicey, especially for travel, is going to be in the Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, Friday timeframe. Thursday, Friday, Saturday in particular. We might see improving, albeit very cold weather on Sunday, but we'll need to keep an eye on that Thursday, Friday timeframe, in particular for holiday travelers. The exact details are still murky. We're still having a hard time nailing everything down, but our confidence, as we told you yesterday, that much colder weather is still on the table. Satellite imagery today shows a pretty robust upper level low right now. A lot of rain falling out here in the eastern Pacific. This upper level low kind of cut off still, but it is going to start to make its way eastward beginning tomorrow. This area of low pressure and strong jet stream wind activity up here, the changes happening up in the higher latitudes will force this low eastward. And once it starts to move, gets unstuck, it's going to move fairly quickly. Right now, though, generally clear conditions across the Intermountain West, so very quiet weather coming for today, and there you can see it on the 500 millibar chart. By Sunday afternoon into Monday, this is by 5 p.m. Sunday, Mountain Time, we've got this disorganized two-barreled low-pressure system. This is why it's just really not going to be able to put itself together well, but it is going to spread colder, more moist air into the region as we get into that Sunday-Monday time frame. Saturday, we'll be looking at shower activity developing during the course of the day Saturday here. Notice we start to get this high pressure configuration in the eastern Pacific and this big area of high pressure beginning to form in the Atlantic. This sets the stage for bigger changes happening later. So this is late Sunday into Monday, and this is what the precipitation looks like. The West Coast gets wet. We're going to see some pretty good snows here in the mountains of southwest Colorado and northern New Mexico, the high Wasatch. Going to get into the action as well, with areas of rain and snow shower activity across Interstate 80 here. That'll be happening as we get into the Saturday, Sunday, early Monday morning time frame. This moisture out here basically develops Sunday into early Monday as that two-barreled low-pressure system moves in. And there you can see where the snow will fall. So if you're going to be traveling through these areas, late Saturday, this is really going to be as we get into that Saturday, Sunday morning time frame, as we get into here. So I-70, southwest parts of Wyoming, Interstate 80 up there, you're going to see some travel hazards, even into northern New Mexico here, maybe over Raton Pass, getting into the action with this system late in the weekend and early next week. So this is the first system to deal with. Then there's a bit of a break in the weather. This is for Wednesday, 5 p.m. Notice we've got this coalescing area of very cold air getting organized over Hudson Bay. The models are having a really hard time with this. We know that there's a pocket of very cold air up there. We know it's going to get itself better organized in this counterclockwise spinning vortex of cold. With high pressure building there in the Pacific, there's still that high pressure ridge here. The problem is when you get these big pockets of cold air spinning, and notice how it's wanting to get pinched off from the main flow, which it will right here, they kind of wobble, they meander. And they'll wobble west, they'll wobble south, they'll wobble east. And so that wobbling is what the models are having a really hard time with. One feature, though, I want to point out to you that's going to be a very important player that doesn't look like much is this guy right here. This area of low pressure doesn't look like much, but there's going to be a fetch of Pacific air and Pacific moisture. The key there is Pacific moisture associated with this low. So there could be an interaction between this Pacific moisture and this Arctic air mass right here, as we'll show you here in a moment. So basically, from late Monday into Tuesday into most of, if not all of Wednesday, not a lot going on. So that's a good, decent travel period. But as we get into 5 p.m. Thanksgiving Day Thursday, the European model cuts this very cold air pocket off from the main jet stream and it begins to wobble. Very cold air is going to be on the surface here with the trajectory of the air counterclockwise, coming around that low, driving that colder, much colder air south. But then here's this area of low pressure that's coming in from the Pacific Northwest that's going to interject Pacific moisture into the equation. You take the cold air at the surface, you bring moist, warmer Pacific air on top of that colder air, you're going to produce snow. So this is by late Thursday. This is the GFS, or the American model. Notice there's still a real disconnect exactly on the placement of the vortex of cold up there. The GFS keeps it connected, but the GFS also has this area of low pressure. They're saying basically the same thing, well, not exactly agreeing, but the basic pattern is there. And a lot of times in weather forecasting, now I always talk about it's the trend, but it's really also not only the trend, but it's the pattern. The patterns don't have to be exactly the same to get the exact same or a very similar result. And this is why our confidence in the colder weather is high. The Canadian model here is different. It's basically saying the same thing, but it's slower with the entrance of the Arctic air. Maybe not coming in during the day Thursday, but overnight Thursday into Friday. But it still has this area of very cold air near Hudson Bay, but the placements are still very different. But we're converging on a solution that looks a lot colder. And as I showed you yesterday, the cold is showing up no matter what because the overall basic pattern is the same. So this is by 5 p.m. on Friday. You can see the extent of the surge of colder air. You can see how sharp the cold frontal boundary is right here by late Friday. But by late Thursday into Friday, the Arctic air is spreading into most of the western and central United States. So this is the European, this is the GFS, the American model, and this is the Canadian. The Canadian is holding on to the air and having it being a lot colder. But by Friday, we've got the same story, although how we get there is a little bit different. Now, this is where we have travel concerns. This is for the period of time of Thursday through Saturday. So the weather up here, this precipitation develops from the north to the south. So the panhandle of Idaho, northeast Oregon here, will be the first to see this coming in probably overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning. By the, let's say, noon hour of Thursday, the moisture is going here. And by nightfall Thursday, it's getting down to the I-80 corridor. So there's going to be a change north to south. The north area is getting it first. The southern area is getting it last. This is a pattern. This is a classic overrunning pattern where the Arctic air is backed up against the divide as it spills out of Canada, and that Pacific moisture overrides it like this, a convergence of two different air masses. So then we look at what the snowfall potential is like. And again, take this with a grain of salt. This is basically just to display where the snow is likely to fall in this collision of air masses during Thanksgiving Day Thursday into the day on Friday and into Saturday morning. So anywhere you see blue here, you're going to have icy roads and highways and mountain passes. Then as we take a look in the long term, this goes all the way out to November 29th. What I want you to notice here is the configuration. The pattern's the same. High pressure in the Pacific, high pressure in the Atlantic. So if this pattern continues all the way till the end of November, this is an overriding cold message for all of really North America and most of the lower 48 states. It's going to be certainly a lot more like, well, it should be. We've been really spoiled with the first half of November so far. Second half of November into early December, it's a different ball game. And yesterday, the European model came out with its updated 45-day forecast, and the temperature anomaly for the period of the end of November through the first of the year, right here, this is basically adding 30 days together and just merging all of the general trends in the forecast. As you can see with all the blue, the tendency here for the end of November into December for the western United States is looking colder, a departure from where we've been. Certainly we'll have a lot more detail. We'll be able to fine-tune things on Monday for you travelers. Have a good weekend.